Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon, let's get to it.
Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. I'm Jenny Taft, day 2 back here in studio. I'm joined by Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. It is great to see you guys again this morning. How are we doing?
I was doing pretty good. I was doing pretty good until, something happened.
Yeah, I know.
All of a sudden, I wasn't doing too well.
Shannon Sharpe, in all my years, I've never experienced any year like 2020. And I must say, it is a pleasure and honor to be able to try to make sense of 2020 right here with you.
Yeah, you think 2021 can hurry up and get here?
I don't know.
I agree with you guys about that. It's good. It's appropriate. I like that move. Guys, Steven Jackson will also be joining us from Minneapolis later on. We also have Killer Mike joining the show. I am so looking forward to hearing from him. But Shannon, you mentioned you were doing good until something happened yesterday, and that is some controversial comments that we heard from Drew Brees, and I'm going to get right into it. In an interview with Yahoo Finance, Drew Brees said he could, quote, never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America. Brees said he stands with his teammates for their fight for equality, but also that he stands with family members who have served in the military. Brees was heavily criticized by many athletes, including teammates Michael Thomas and Malcolm Jenkins. Drew Brees did issue an apology this morning on Instagram. Shannon, your thoughts? Are you surprised by this? What's your reaction?
No, and what's made the black fight so hard is people like Drew Brees, Skip. Because if you can't get a guy that grew up with blacks in the locker room, from pee-wee to high school to college to the NFL, to understand the black man's plight, who will? What about guys that's not around blacks on a daily basis, that have not been around blacks on a daily basis like Drew Brees? Drew Brees said something, Skip, that I found insulting, to be quite honest with you. He said, my grandfathers fought in World War II. I did not know 2 men won World War II, Skip. They should be commended. But did he know that black men fought alongside his grandfather in World War II, although in segregated militaries? Skip, they were fighting in a foreign land for a freedom that when they came home, they did not enjoy like Drew Brees' grandfathers did. Did Drew know that black men that wore military, when they came home, that were caught in their military uniforms, a lot of times were beaten, jailed, and even killed? Does he realize that, Skip, that every war that's ever been fought in American history, black men have fought valiantly in that war? In the Revolutionary War, Skip, they said the blacks were fighting for their master's freedom that they were not going to get, even though they were told, if you pick up arms and fight alongside us, upon you returning, you could gain your freedom. When they came back home, Skip, guess what? They were enslaved again. And a lot of reasons, Skip, George Washington signed the Military Act in 1792 saying blacks couldn't join the military.
Yep.
They fought so well, and some of the officers said they fought so well and valiantly, he took it out. But guess what the British did? British said, if you run away and fight with us, we'll give you your freedom. And immediately George Washington rescinded the order. I can't believe you, Drew. What would make you think at this moment, Skip, 8-9 days after George Floyd had lost his life, that you would bring up the military and the flag again, Skip? I told you, Skip, if you want to talk about B, and I don't want to talk about B, I'm going to talk about C, I'm going to talk about D, I'm going to talk about everything except what you want to talk about, because that's an issue I do not want to face. Drew, blacks fought in World War II alongside your grandfather and did not have the freedoms that they had when they came home, Skip, although they had sacrificed the exact same thing as his grandfathers did. So let me get this straight, Skip. I sacrifice as much as you do in a foreign land fighting for freedom for people that when I get home, I don't get. And Drew's like, that flag means so much. Drew, do you realize, think about the black man, that flag, for 250 years in slavery, another 100 years of Jim Crow. And so you automatically assume that a black man should feel the same pride for the flag as you and your grandfathers? Skip, that's what makes me upset, Skip, is that some think that only whites served in the military. Man, that flag means so much. My grandfather, my great-grandfather. I guarantee you, if you poll some players in the NFL, they have grandfathers or great-grandfathers that served in World War II. and World War I. Skip, this is what was said. In August of 1917, there was a senator from Missouri named James Vardaman, and he warned that once a black soldier was allowed to see himself as an American hero, it was one step to the conclusion that his political rights must be respected. Bringing black soldiers home to the South with the expectation of equality, he predicted, would inevitably lead to disaster. He said black soldiers as potential community leaders would be terrifying and a disaster and would be a mass movement for the African-American rights. Even though they went overseas to fight for freedoms, when they came home, they were not to enjoy that. And Drew Brees still doesn't seem to get it. Now, he issued an apology, Skip, but it's meaningless because the guys know that he spoke his heart the very first time around.
Correct.
Now, I don't know what Drew's going to do, but he probably should just go ahead and retire now. It will never be the same. Take it from a guy that's been a leader in a locker room for a number of years. At every step, Skip, I've been the leader in the locker room. What he said, they go like, oh, yeah, no, they will never look at him the same because he spoke his heart and Skip, and what he said, it wasn't what he said, it's how he said it. He was defiant. I will never respect the man. Even though Colin Kaepernick had told you what he was doing, Skip, and guess what? Even after all this, nobody had even mentioned the flag. He brought that up on his own. Drew, I don't know what you was thinking. I don't know what you hoped to accomplish. But whatever you hoped to accomplish, it failed miserably. Black people have been fighting for this country, even though they did not get the rights that the flag said. That flag that Skip, I thought the flag meant something. See, I get the flag, the cloth that wave in the wind as the wind blows, but it means something. It's supposed to mean something. It's supposed to mean everything for all people, freedoms, liberties. But if the black man doesn't have the same freedoms and liberty as the white, what good is the flag? And Drew thinks that, well, I got me, that's what it means to me. I feel a sense of pride, a sense of honor. Everybody doesn't feel like that, Drew, because it hadn't represented them in the exact same way.
I hear every word you just spoke. And once again, your words are so real and so raw and so genuine and authentic that it gives me chills over here on this side. And back to Jenny's question about my level of surprise, I was not surprised by his apology. And I also was not surprised by what he said yesterday. And I'm with you. I believe Drew Brees showed you his true colors yesterday. And I'm not going to completely condemn him as a bad man.
No.
He's not a bad man. But he's not ignorant. He's not unaware of all that has gone on.
It's called willful ignorance.
Yeah, it's willful. To me, it's just willful insensitivity. And he did admit to being insensitive in his apology. But let's look harder at Drew Brees, shall we? He is a staunch Republican. He is arch conservative. His father was a prominent trial lawyer in Austin, Texas, and Drew grew up in an affluent community in Austin. His mother was also an attorney, successful attorney. And as you point out, and that he loves to point out, both his grandfathers served in World War II and one fought in the Battle of Okinawa. That is what he is at the utmost proud of. Drew Brees is blindly about God and country. God and country. He can't see past his view of God and country.
Correct.
And he always talks about what he calls the 4 F's: faith, family, football, and this is a PHF, philanthropy.
Right.
And to his credit, he has given lots of money to the Katrina cause, obviously in New Orleans. He's given a lot of his time to charity. We know that.
Right.
And Drew Brees has been, and I'm going to underline has been, one of the most popular quarterbacks in the history of this league.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
I believe he has been.
Skip, and if I'm not mistaken, he won NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year.
2006. It's been a while, but he did win that award.
Yes.
Okay? We get that. But now we get to, I think he was asked a question. I could be wrong about this because I kept seeing his answer, but I'm not exactly sure the question.
Right.
But I think the original question was about how would you feel if players this coming season resurrected what Colin Kaepernick obviously started 4 years ago, was the pioneer trailblazer in all this. He decided first to sit for the anthem, then to kneel for the anthem.
Correct.
How would you feel, Drew Brees? And he gave the answer that hit all your hottest buttons, which is, I will never, that was the word he used, I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America. So what he's telling you is that he feels just as strongly about disrespecting the flag as the black community feels about the murderous disrespect with which you have been treated for hundreds of years, or at least this century, by policemen in this country.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So I thought we had all moved past the original shock and concern about, wait a second, Colin, wait, this is the national anthem.
Right.
But that was 4 years ago.
Right.
And that was my initial thought. Wait, what are you doing? Because I didn't know what the point was at the first.
Anyone knew.
Until he so eloquently and clearly laid it out for us.
Yes.
This is about the continuous murders of unarmed black men and women by white policemen. That's it. That is his cause.
Right.
And he thinks that it's such a dire cause. It's so imminent, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. That was 4 years ago. We've seen countless since then. But he was obviously way ahead of the curve 4 years ago to say, I'm going to kneel during the anthem. I need America to please wake up, open up your eyes and see our plight and our problem that you have so eloquently discussed on this show.
Right.
He's way ahead of everybody. And then the evil irony that, as you brought up last week on the show, that Colin's kneeling became a white cop's kneeling on the neck of George Floyd for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Yeah.
In broad daylight, you saw a murder committed. So to me, a Drew Brees who has always been so careful about saying and doing exactly the right thing, so conscious of public relations, that he feels so staunchly and strongly about the flag, it unifies all of us. Drew, the black community is crying out for help.
Right.
And he steps into the breach of what is happening before our very eyes. I believe much of white America just got woke. I do. I do. I'm seeing an outpouring of younger white Americans at the protests.
Yes.
I'm still watching the protests, most of them, the ones here in Southern California yesterday, and you keep using the word droves. They are coming out more in bigger droves and bigger droves.
Yes.
And I'm seeing more and more younger white people right there with their black brothers and sisters. They're trying. They're trying. They're saying, we're here for you. Now, what can we do? Well, eyes and ears are as open. Help me out. But I think they're as open as they've ever been from younger white America, right?
I believe so.
And so the next thing you have to do is you have to go vote, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But the point is, what has been the unifying flashpoint for this country? It's that video. Shannon, I've been around for a while. In all my years, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. I have never seen as vile and evil a video as that video. I don't know how many times I've watched it, at least a dozen. And I think I've hit the point of no return. But I also think that video has become a turning point for this country because this is just me, and I'm old enough to have a feeling for this. For many years, black men were lynched in this country back into the previous 2 centuries, throughout the 1900s, all the way up to maybe the 60s. They were lynched across the southern part of this country.
Yes.
That video, to me, was as close to a public lynching. Again, I don't have video of any of those lynchings. I've seen the pictures of the black men hanging from the trees, but I don't have a video. I got to see the modern day equivalent to me of a lynching, in that George Floyd's neck is pinned to the ground. He's basically being publicly lynched. That's, again, I'm probably overstating it, but I get as emotional, almost as emotional as you do about this. And for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and for the last 2:53, he's dead. And still, I see a brazen, arrogant white man with his hands in his pocket, just crushing with his knee the neck of this man. It's like a concrete lynching to me on the concrete. Okay, this is This is the breach into which Drew Brees just stepped. He stepped in it, right? Mm-hmm. And whether it's willful ignorance or however, he doesn't get what just happened to this country. It could be a watershed moment. It could be a tipping point where finally enough people did, of all races, besides the black community, but suddenly you have some sympathetic eyes and ears around this country I don't think you've ever had before.
Right.
And now a prominent white player, and again, the black community has been crying out for, please Tom Brady, please Aaron Rodgers. Aaron's always been great about this.
Unbelievable.
Yep, he has been. He did.
You heard what he said, Skip?
Yep.
It was never about that. It wasn't then. No. It isn't now.
He's been tremendous about it. He's been your biggest supporter of the superstar white quarterback.
Yes.
Yet, here's for me what crystallized the moment yesterday. The receiver who caught a record number of passes last year, an NFL record number from Drew Brees, is named Michael Thomas.
Right.
He posted one line on Twitter, just one line that just galvanized everything for me. And he says about Drew Brees, he didn't name Drew Brees, but everybody knew who he was talking about. Right. He don't know enough to know. He don't know enough to know.
Right.
You just said that in many more words, powerful words. He don't know enough to know. Okay, it's as simple as that. Malcolm Jenkins, his new teammate, who knows Drew Brees, not as a teammate, but just as a competitor.
They used to be, they were teammates before.
Oh, they were. I'm sorry, he started there.
He got drafted by the Saints.
That's a good point. But he's just now joining the Saints, so we're going to see how that works out when they actually go to camp and virtual ends and camp begins. Right. And to your point, we'll see how this plays. But it took Malcolm Jenkins he just couldn't help it. He took down the first video because he was just over-emotional. He thought he overreacted a little bit, but then he posted a couple of more. And he nailed it because he's saying, Drew, unfortunately, you are part of the problem.
Yes.
You are.
Yes.
Because I've known a lot of men like Drew Brees. You could argue this country was founded on men like Drew Brees, right?
Yes.
Yeah. With that same point of view. It's bullheaded, it's blind, it's God and country.
Skip, I think the thing is that if you notice, and last night there at 9 o'clock, you were supposed to go outside with a flashlight, and I ended up doing it at 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And I think when it crystallizes, if you think about it, try and hold your breath for a minute, for 2 minutes, for 3 minutes, for 4 minutes. And if you go into a courtroom, Skip, in order to grasp the attention of the jury, sometimes they would do things, when mass murder, I can't remember, I don't know if it was Gacy or not, but Skip, they took 33 pictures of the young men that he had killed, and each one by one, they threw them in a hole because he had buried them in the crawl space. And you can see the jury. That's one. That's 33. So now when you count 1 minute, 2 minutes, and the attorney is going to say, okay, guys, I want you, if you got a watch on, I want you to set your clock. And he said, I want you to set it to 8 minutes and 43 seconds. And I don't want you to say a word. And I don't want you to breathe. Hold your breath as long as you can and realize what this man was going to. Skip, it's a painful death. It was not instantaneous. It was painful. And for Drew not to understand what Colin Kaepernick was trying to bring attention to, he was never trying to disrespect the flag. He was never trying to disrespect the military, although the military had disrespected a lot of black men. Skip, it wasn't until 1948 when Truman signed the executive order of 9981, in which he desegregated the military. So in other words, the military that you valiantly speak of has been very disrespectful for the black man. Because even the GI Bill, when it came home and blacks were supposed to be allowed to get money and to buy nice homes, that wasn't how it happened, Skip. The medals that they fought for and won for bravery and valor and heroism, they didn't get those. They had to fight for them, and a lot of them was awarded those medals posthumously, meaning they got their flowers after they were dead, where white men was coming home and getting medal after medal after medal. And Drew somehow thinks that the flag is supposed to mean the exact same thing for a black man as a white man, when this country has never been the same for a black man as a white man. Drew, what country do you live in? You live in a country that has afforded you privileges and luxury that the black man has never been afforded and received. And you're so set in your ways that you were unwilling. Skip, I remember I told you, Skip, the man that can't see isn't the blindest. It's the one that chooses not to see. Drew Brees chooses to make this about the flag as opposed to the plight of the unarmed black men and women being killed in this America. That's what he wants to make it about because he doesn't want to talk about it. And Skip, I don't care. They use some if you notice when Malcolm Jenkins said, I used to respect you. Mm-hmm. Used to, that's past tense.
Yep.
Some called him ignorant. Emmanuel Sanders just got there shaking my head, ignorant. Mike Thomas, as you mentioned, Skip, around the league, LeBron James weighed in. Wow.
Did he?
Man. Even after he told you it was not about the flag, you still making it about the flag. Skip, in this minefield, Skip, even if you felt that way, why would you verbalize it in this climate at this moment?
Not now. Agreed. Okay, back to one of your original points. You were one of the great leaders in the history of this league.
Yes.
You have also told me that many times you had to play alongside a man you knew was at heart racist or maybe whose politics or
didn't align with mine. Yes.
Did not align.
Yes.
And at some point you have to give it up.
Yes.
You have to make peace with it, and you have to go to battle with him just because that's just the circumstance under which teams are built.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay. Now we're talking about the leader of the team, the face of the franchise, a pantheon quarterback who, by the way, has all the records.
All of them.
Every record belongs to Drew Brees.
Yep.
Completions, yards, touchdown passes. He leads in every category all time.
Yes.
So now it's that guy attempting to re-seize the lead of the team through an apology, and then I'm sure there'll be more verbals, more calls to be made to, again, he called Malcolm yesterday. He'll probably call him back and try to work through it again after things calm down.
Right.
But you're saying, your gut feeling is right now, the team unity has been cracked.
Yeah.
Where you can't fix the crack.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Skip, I believe they're going to say all the possible things. We're going to rally behind this and all that. But they will never look at Drew Brees the same. Because, and Skip, if I'm hurting, if I'm crying the most, this is not the time to abandon me. This is not the time for you to interject and say, well, Skip, if I'm crying, I'm hurt. You can't come to me and talk about, well, man, hey, I broke my foot too. I'm hurting too, bro.
No.
And that's what he did.
That's what it was.
He made it that his cause, man, y'all disrespecting the flag hurts me just as much as unarmed black men and women getting killed in America. Drew, for real, Drew?
Well, so in the big picture, will this damage his legacy? Yeah. I think it does.
Oh, yeah. They're going to bring that up. I mean, Skip, I don't think he's to the extent of Ty Cobb, but you cannot mention Ty Cobb. Yeah, he had the highest lifetime batting average. Yes, he won the Triple Crown. Yes, he won 9 batting titles. But you can't say that without saying the other part of his legacy. And people will remember what Drew Brees said in 2020. Yeah, he might have all the records. But, man, you remember when Drew was so insensitive to the plight of the black man when he had an opportunity to step to the forefront and help?
Yep, I hear you.
No mercy.
Welcome back to Undisputed. Fox Sports NBA analyst Steven Jackson is joining us now from Minneapolis. Steven, you were extremely close with George Floyd. You have been incredibly strong throughout all of this for George's family, just your strength in doing all these interviews and being on the ground in Minneapolis. Just want to check in about your emotions today ahead of the memorial service in Minneapolis.
All over the place. At the end of the day, I'm thinking more about Gigi, Roxy, and his family. That's what most of my heart is at, thinking about them. It's going to be a tough couple of days for them, and I'm just trying to be strong for them. I'm standing for the family. I'm standing for Gigi and Roxy, and I got to be strong for them. I really don't even care about how I feel. I'm concerned about how I feel. I'm just trying to be strong for them.
Stacks, you've been in Minnesota basically the last 10 days. And so how is the mood? What's the tone like in Minnesota yesterday, today, compared to what it was over the last 3 to 4 days?
Well, you still can feel the rage in the city, Shannon. You still can feel the rage in the city. And the city is not just happy with those guys getting arrested. This city has the same hurt and the same passion as the family has. And one thing I got to say every time I get on TV, I got a lot of love for Minnesota, man, because they really trying to fight for what's right here. And I'm right in the fight with them. And I appreciate everything they've done in Minnesota, but the fire's still lit here. We haven't put the fire out here. We're going to keep going until we get justice.
So, Stephen, how did the family and those close to it feel about the upgraded charge to second-degree murder against Derek Chauvin and then the arrest and the aiding and abetting charges against the other 3 policemen?
It's a step in the right direction, but, you know, at the end of the day, Skip, you already know we want convictions. We want guys in jail. We want guys to be in jail and treated the same way that we treat one of us. And it's plain and simple, Skip. It ain't rocket science. It ain't rocket science. We just want to be fair. We want them to treat them just that they'll treat any other black man for murder. And that's just the tale of it, Skip. It's not hard at all.
Stacks, as Jenny alluded to earlier, you were very close to George. Do you think George ever thought that he would be the rallying cry? He might be the watershed moment that would get change, would bring about change in America? Nah,
I know he wouldn't have thought that. Trust me, if he had a chance to fight for change and stand for change, he definitely would. I've been with his brother Milton. They call him Popo. I've been with him every day, and he said, Floyd, you should tell him all the time. One day, George, you're going to get us at the top. One day, George, you're going to get us at the top. If we never know to be this way, but his whole family's life is going to change. His daughter's life is going to change from going from this. And he changed the world, like Gigi said. So he wouldn't have predicted this, but he definitely would have wanted it.
So, Stephen, I don't want to make too much of this, but you have talked about how you and George were like twins, quote unquote twins, because you look so much alike. As Shannon just mentioned, you've been there now since basically the start for 10 days. Do you feel like you've almost had to sort of stand in for George, like to become part of George for the family's sake, for the daughter's sake, for everybody's sake? Just that you're there now as the twin brother.
Well, I think this whole situation would have been different, Skip, if I would have stepped up. If I would have stepped up, got in front of the media, got ahead of this thing when this happened to my brother, I don't think it would have got the attention it got. You know, I don't think the world would have got behind it like they got behind it. It's a lot of people that love me, Skip, and it's a lot of people that know I love everybody. And I think it's more people that love everybody than more people that hate. And every once in a while, Skip, God brings somebody around to save this place called America, because God getting upset. And if we don't get these things right, He's going to come take us away. So I think He sent me to try to get things right because I love everybody. And I hopefully people will follow me.
Stacks, when you look at the protest that's going around in America, and I thought when we talked with Skip and I had this conversation on Monday, I thought the temperature was going to come down, the protests would start to dissipate, but they're growing in size. If you look at what's going on in New York, you look at what's going on in LA, in San Francisco, and some of these other communities. Yes, there's no more, I don't see the rioting and the looting that was going on, but the volume of people that are coming out and saying justice for George, no justice, no peace. The people that are getting arrested showing their support and says, we sincerely won't change in America. Did you anticipate that it would grow this big and would be able to sustain itself for this long?
Not at all. No, I couldn't have predicted this, Shannon, but I understand it. I understand why. There's so many cases where we never got justice. There's so many people hurting. There's so many people that stand on the side of right. There's so many people that stand on the side of love. And I think that's what's showing. People are tired. Everybody around the world that loves everybody came together. And this is the first time, Shannon, that all 50 states protested at the same time. This is the first time. So this should say something. People just have to open their eyes. Everybody's saying the same thing. We want justice. Everybody's saying we want everybody to be treated fairly. So we just have to listen. And if the president's not going to stand up and lead, hell, I'll take the lead.
So, Stephen, help us out here. Have you heard anything about Derek Chauvin, the cop who I think murdered, obviously, George Floyd, having crossed paths with George before? Because, as we now all know, Chauvin he worked security at a nightclub for about 17 years. He would sit outside in his police cruiser out in the parking lot of the nightclub. And for the last year, George Floyd worked inside security. Is it possible they had crossed paths? Is it possible they had an incident or had any previous animosity or bad blood, because this might come up in the trial. Have you heard anything from any of the insiders or the family about any conflict they might have had in the past?
No, I haven't, Skip. I have heard they worked at the same club, and it's kind of hard to work at the same club and not see each other, kind of not have any contact. But me knowing Floyd, just like me and his brother Paul Milton was talking, that video looked personal. You know, it's too many situations in that video where we know our brother and we know it looked personal. Especially when they were walking, when they put him in cuffs and he was walking off and he dropped to his knees. That's the sign of no, I don't want to go. I know what y'all gonna do to me. But my brother wasn't weak like that to just drop to his knees. He knew what was going on. And I hope everything comes out, Skip. But trust me, I'm gonna get more, because I'm here doing my own investigation. Because if I can help in any kind of way, that's what I'm here to do.
Well, bro, you're to be commended. And I know that, look, the thing is that your relationship that you had with George, there's no doubt in my mind, if the shoe was on the other foot, he would be right there for you and your family, fighting, trying to lead a charge for change. So I commend you, Stacks. It's an unbelievable job what you've done. You should be proud. I know, not proud of the moment, but proud of what how you've been able to handle this situation. And hopefully, this is the watershed moment. Hopefully, this is the thing that brings about change, that we get treated fairly. That in America, that we're American citizens and we're treated just like our counterparts. Nothing more, nothing less.
That means a lot coming from you, so thank you.
Stephen, we love you around here. We're going to be thinking about you today, thinking about George's family. The image of Gigi on your shoulders is what I'm going to be picturing specifically today, and we just want to thank you for joining us. No mercy. Broncos head coach Vic Fangio apologized yesterday after saying that he did not see racism in the NFL. Fangio said that after discussing it with players and other coaches, he realized he had made a mistake and he should have been more clear with his comments. So, Shannon, do you like his apology?
I do. I'm glad he apologized, Skip. I don't know Coach Fangio. All I know is he coached the Denver Broncos, so I don't know him like I would know Mike Shanahan, one of my previous coaches, or Dan Reeves, Wade Phillips, or Brian Billick. But I think it was the right thing to do. And see, a lot of times, Skip, this is the problem. Because it has not happened to them, they don't it didn't happen. It doesn't exist. You see, they say the locker rooms are a microcosm of society. So therefore, if there's racism in society and the locker room is a microcosm of that, shouldn't it exist? Skip, something just happened just a week ago. The Rooney Rule. They added you had to interview more minorities. What was that about, Skip? The adage that blacks can't be quarterbacks because they can't process information fast enough. They can't think on their feet. Was that about talent? What was that about? Come on, Coach Fangio. Because you have not experienced something does not mean it does not exist. And I think the thing is that, yes, the players talk to him. Don't need to get into specifics, but I know for a fact some of his black players were very upset that he said what he said. Now is not the time for you to say, well, the locker room is a safe haven. No, it's not. I think the difference is, Skip, between a locker room and society is that in a locker room, people generally go for the same common goal. And I'm willing to overlook some of the things because winning the Lombardi seems to be more important. But what guys are seeing now, what we're starting to see from a lot of athletes now, especially in the 2000s, Skip, is that not only are they morally conscious, they're socially conscious. So they're not like, yeah, we want to win the Super Bowl, but we don't want unarmed black men and women getting killed in these streets either. So there's a difference now, Skip, because we understand in the 60s, Skip, at the height of the civil rights, there were a lot of blacks that was willing to take on certain issues. But the money from endorsements was not nearly like it is now, Skip. You got guys making $50, $60, $70, $80 million in endorsements. And guys are willing to I don't care. That's wrong. And I'm going to speak out against it. So I'm glad Coach Fangio, he apologized. Hopefully now will his actions back up his apology. Because a lot of times, Skip, this issue, okay, here you go. And that doesn't match up with things that it should to show that you are apologetic. Are you sincerely sorry that you said what you said, or are you doing it because of the backlash that came with it? Only time will tell. But I am glad that he issued the apology, and hopefully it has some teeth, and he'll put his actions to where his words are.
So, to your point about the Rooney Rule, the painful irony of Vic Fangio's initial comment is that, to me, from my point of view, he is in some ways a product of the racism that still exists in the National Football League.
Yes.
At age 60, he's now 61, but at age 60, he got hired by John Elway to be the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Now, they had for 2 years a younger African-American head coach, Vance Joseph.
Correct.
Who started at 45 and coached for 45 and 46. Yet, as we just saw in the recent hiring cycle, we struck out. And we're down to Mike Tomlin, Anthony Lynn, Brian Flores. And I'm pretty sure, am I missing anybody? I think that's all that's left. African-American.
Correct.
Ron Rivera Menor.
Marty.
Okay? So we got 4, but we have 3 African-American. 32 teams. It's not good enough. And again, to your point, there was a movement afoot to how can we fix this? And some of the black coaches were split. Tony Dunn, the ex-black coaches, were split about this. John Wooten, my friend who ran the Rooney Rule for years, he was for some sort of incentive base.
Right.
He said, we went from penalizing to let's try incentives. Whatever. Like, it's desperation at this point to try to fix the problem.
Right.
Well, Fangio got a job at age 16. It was his first head coaching job in his career, and he paid a lot of dues. We'll give him that.
Right.
Worked his way. It started in 1994 as assistant coach with the Saints. Worked his way up the ladder. So it wasn't like he just came from nowhere, like a guy named Matt Rule, who just sort of came from nowhere at Baylor, and all of a sudden he gets a whole lot of money to coach the Carolina Panthers after he coached at Temple and Baylor.
Or Cliff Kingsbury. But
there's one.
We get your point, though.
Who was sub 500 as a college coach. That's a good one. So, again, that's tone deaf to me.
Yes.
Fangio says, well, I don't see any racism. And look, I'll give him this, and you would, I think, agree with the point. We have come a long way in the locker room. There was once upon a time where not just black quarterbacks, but black players did not get the same opportunity. I'm going back a ways. Did not get the same opportunity to win jobs as white players.
Yeah, Skip, blacks were not allowed to play in the NFL.
Yeah, okay.
And it wasn't until Preston Marshall told the Redskins, Washington, that if you don't have them, you're not playing in D.C. Those are your choices. I think it was Kennedy. Those are your choices. Put one on the team or you're not playing here.
That's true. Okay.
And Bobby Mitchell was that guy.
And I've told you, when I worked out here at the LA Times back in the 70s, they sent me for a whole week to Grambling University to do a long story on a young man by the name of Doug Williams. And I thought he was going to go really high in the draft, like top 5, maybe even top 1, because I thought he was good enough to be the first pick in the draft. And he was good enough to be the first overall pick. And I made my calls around some of the GMs I knew at that point, all obviously white. And one very prominent GM told me he does not have the mental capability to make it in our league. Really? He does. Do you see what he's doing at Grambling?
Exactly.
He was the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl, obviously, for the Redskins. And he remains prominent in this league, Doug Williams. So that was a long time ago, 1977. So we have come... I think you would agree with the black quarterback. We've come a long way.
Absolutely.
Black quarterbacks are getting their opportunities. I'm sure there's some cases where maybe they don't. But
sometimes we still get an opportunity to skip. You want to switch position. Lamar Jackson, I think you'd be a better receiver.
That is correct.
Where they would never do that.
Right.
I mean,
Jalen Hurts, I think he went through the same idea of, could you play running back?
No.
No, I'm a quarterback.
Thank you.
Okay. So, again, Vic Fangio, I think he showed his tone deafness, his sort of blindness, because he's sitting in a chair right now that maybe a black coach should be sitting in. And that's no disrespect to him. He's highly respected as a defensive mind. But he got a job as an older defensive mind. He's not even a young gun Cliff Kingsbury. He's not even some offensive guru type. Then you can say, well, that's sort of the sheep think of the NFL right now. Hire the hot, young, white guru, right?
Sean McVay of the world.
That guy, right? Well, Fangio wasn't even that guy. And he got the head coaching job of a team that has been around for a while. It's a coveted job, and it's still a very good football team. And he got that job and not another young black coach. Okay?
Again, man, I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve the job. Maybe he did deserve the job. Maybe he deserved the opportunity. Maybe he's paid his dues. But to say there's no racism in the NFL when Colin Kaepernick has gone without a job, what was that about?
Right. And you can certainly speak to this. And I don't know specific people, but I promise you there are racists playing for the National Football League right now. There are racist players.
Yes.
You know there are.
Of course.
We hear it all the time.
Yeah.
The N-word gets used during, the stress of battle in the NFL by white players to black players.
Well, the thing is, I'll be honest, Skip, I never heard that. Now, I've heard, we called each other. Obviously, we called each other that. But I think now, Skip, they've cleaned that up where you'll get a fine if you were to say something like that. But it's hard for me to believe, as you said, Skip, if we are a microcosm of society, because think about it, you're bringing guys from different religion and backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds, or all that kind of stuff. And that exists out there in the world. So I guess once you come into the locker room, you disregard all of that? No. No. It would be foolish and disingenuous to say that and to believe that. But look, I think the thing is that once he once he talked to some of his players and coaches, he realized the mistake that he had made. To say there's none. I mean, think about this, Skip, there's none. It's like, look, guys, I mean, and like he hedged it the second time around, in my experience, racism, you have to be in a position. When have you ever encountered a black in position to commit racism against you? Racism is about a position of power, Skip.
Yep.
It's a belief that because of your color, I'm better than you are. When have blacks ever been in a position to hire somebody who's like, yeah, I got you now, what? When have we ever had that kind of control, Skip? And that's what the systemic is. So I'm glad Coach Fangio apologized. I was very disappointed when he said what he said. I've talked to a couple of the players on the Broncos. They were very disappointed, but they had a call with him, and hopefully they worked everything out.
Maybe it's a time of learning, listening, learning.
I think sometimes everybody wants to have a comment on something, and they speak without really thinking about they're about to say. And it comes out, and then you have to reissue a statement.
Yep.
It's okay to say, look, guys, what happened to George Floyd was horrible, and we want justice. And I stand with my players and leave it at that. Once you start trying to interject, well, there's no racism, and the NFL is a meritocracy, and there's no racism. Stop.
Yeah.
No mercy. On a podcast Tuesday with Steve Kerr, Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll said, quote, "We owe a tremendous amount to Colin Kaepernick when he started his protests." Shannon, do you appreciate what he said here?
Hell no. He wasn't saying that when he did it. Skip, he had Colin Kaepernick in. He didn't mention anything about football. He talked about, what was going on and the protests. And guess what they did? They signed the great Austin Davis. So now all of a sudden, ex post facto, he's to be commended. Why didn't you commend him then? You needed a backup quarterback. Why didn't you sign him? Now you want us to you heard what Pete said about Cap? He said Cap is to be commended for what he was doing. He wasn't saying that then. So why are you saying it now? Because remember, it's the en vogue. You can't go wrong. Black Lives Matter. Justice for George. We need to end this systemic racism and institutional racism. You can't go wrong now. And Pete Carroll just jumped on the bandwagon. That's all he did, Skip Bayless. He ain't fooling nobody.
No.
Because when you had Cap right before you, you didn't talk about no football. You ain't talk about no X's and O's. You ain't say go draw up nothing on the board. And when you canceled a visit, Skip, if I'm not mistaken, in 2018, when he wouldn't give you assurances that he wouldn't take a knee again.
True.
So now he's to be commended. You weren't commended him when you had him in your office for a visit. You canceled his visit in 2018 when he wouldn't give you assurance he wouldn't take a knee. Now you want praise? Now you saying we should pat Cap on the back when you slammed the door in Cap's face? Man, miss me with this. Oh, no. He get no kudos. He gets nothing from Shannon.
So to your point, they did bring Colin Kaepernick to Seattle. As I recall, and I think you heard this from one of your sources, that he thought he was going to work out for the Seahawks.
Correct.
And nothing happened.
No.
He did not even suit up in practice gear to go out and throw the football.
He did
correct?
Not. Correct.
So what was it about then? Were they just sort of helping the league out by saying, we're going to have him in for a visit just to say, well, what? Somebody did something, right?
Yes.
We tried. Then the NFL Network, and maybe you should take this with those grains of salt, they reported it was all about money, that they were, quote unquote, far apart on how much Colin was asking for that the Seahawks did not want to pay at that point.
Right.
Mike Florio, to his credit, on Pro Football Talk, shot that down and said, but per his sources, not about money at all.
They never talked about money.
No.
They never talked about football, anything related to football. It was about what Colin Kaepernick was doing, the protest, and that is what they talked about. So money never even came up.
So at that point, Pete Carroll did speak out about, look, Colin Kaepernick is a starter in this league, and he will be a starter in this league. I think he was trying to say between the lines, we don't really need a starter here because we have a starting quarterback, Russell Wilson, who had been under fire because that locker room had decided that he was the quote-unquote pet of Pete Carroll and the coaching staff. And you know the flashpoint of the Seattle Seahawks as we knew and loved them, the Legion of Boom, was that flashpoint moment of, do we hand it to beast mode or do we throw it?
Yep.
Right?
Correct.
And I think a lot of the players on the defensive side of the ball decided they wanted to make Russell the MVP of the Super Bowl. Correct. Let him throw it from the 1 yard line? Yeah. Okay. And was that not the beginning of the end?
It was never going to be the same, Skip. But Skip, your team, as a matter of fact, signed as a backup a guy that was a starter, a guy that's good enough to start.
Oh, now.
Your team signed the guy.
True.
I thought that's what you...
In parts because we're not sure we're going to have our other guy.
Skip, right? I thought that's what you wanted.
Yep.
You would want a guy that's been a starter.
Oh, it's perfect. It's beautiful.
Gone to the Super Bowl. So if you get in these games like this, he's not in awe. He's been there, done that. I thought that's what teams wanted. They wanted experience at the backup quarterback position. But not this time.
Okay. But in that case, Russell Wilson was feeling some heat. And so Florio on Pro Football Talk, his final point was it that they didn't want to have an in-house option, like a real option, in case he started to struggle and all of a sudden the Boo Birds came out and said, well, wait a second, where are we headed here with Russell Wilson? This is back in 2017, right?
And remember, some of the guys, Michael Bennett, Sherm, wanted them to sign Cap.
Did they? Very outspoken about it.
Yes.
So if you sign Cap, and many of the defensive players are fans of him, and Russell does have an off game, what happens? All of a sudden, do you have some clashing in the locker room? Probably you do. So I think I don't know if it's Pete Carroll's decision. I don't know if it was the GMs or the owners. I don't know how high up it went. But for all the reasons you just detailed, they said thanks, but no thanks very quickly and didn't even let him go so far as to work out for them.
Correct.
Just to prove what he had been. Well, we know to that point he had thrown 72 touchdown passes in this league to only 30 interceptions. That's
pretty good.
That's pretty good, man. That sounds like better than a starting quarterback.
Yes.
That sounds like a quarterback who got the 49ers to 2 straight NFC championship games and won one of them and came within a controversial uncalled pass interference of winning the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Right?
That's it.
Okay, that's how great he was. Maybe not, I'm not going to go great. I'll go how very good he had been to that point. Very good. And all of a sudden, he gets one look from one team that seems phony baloney to me. It doesn't seem like it was really happening at all.
It's almost like, Skip, how they do the minority coaches where they interview Mark Lewis or they interview that. Knowing good well you're not going to sign it, but you know what? We'll do you this solid. We'll bring him in and we'll take a look at him. We're not going to talk football. Skip, how am I going to go look at I want to go buy a car, but I go to the dealership and I talk everything except cars. Man, how your wife doing? Yeah. Where you go to school at? I ain't talking nothing about the car, but I go in there to buy a car. But all we doing is shooting the breeze, talking about everything else except the car.
It's for show.
Exactly. You bring a guy in there, you're a football team. You bring players in to talk football. Okay, let me see. Where are you, Cap? You want to throw? You want to work out? Okay, sure. That's what normally happens. I mean, I've been in a lot of played 14 years and been at this facility on Tuesday, and they bring a lot of guys in there, Skip, and guys are getting dressed. They go out there, run 40s. They throw, they catch, they punt, they kick. You bring a guy in there to sit him down in your office and talk and not talk football? You're a football team. Normally, football teams talk football. So, Pete. I'm not giving Pete no credit. Skip, remember, everybody said all the right things about Cap now, in which these very same people that are praising Cap for what he did then, they didn't praise him then. Yeah. They praise him now. That's easy for you to say because oh, man, Cap, what Cap did, y'all saw what Cap?
Yeah.
Where were you then?
Yep.
You weren't talking about Cap doing a great thing. You're talking about how divisive it was. I thought everybody liked peaceful protest, Skip. We've got to make it peaceful. Dr. King was peaceful. Even though he was getting hit upside his head, he was still peaceful. Colin Kaepernick was peaceful. Wow. Well, first of all, it's not the right time. It's not the right place. And how do you want me to protest? Because generally, if somebody would tell you what to do, they're going to tell you to do the thing, Skip, that's least uncomfortable for them. I don't want you to make me uncomfortable. I mean, tell me what protest at home. And be quiet, Yeah, I know I understand slavery, and I know your pain and your suffering, but I know you're hurt. But don't cry too long now. That's long enough. You cried long enough. What you crying for now? You got Oprah. You got Michael Jordan. You got the blacks doing well.
You had Obama.
Yeah. Boy, that's the number one, Skip. That's the number. Even Mitch McConnell said, I don't know what they're complaining about. They had Obama for 8 years. Like, that makes up for the other 400 years. So for 392 years, so that makes the 8 years that we had President Obama, that makes up for, man, stop. But Pete, y'all miss me. Now, Steve Kerr has been on the right side of history.
Yes.
Greg Popovich has been on the right side of history. Now everybody want to have revisionist history. They want to have his story. They don't want history because they're two different things. They kind of spell the same, but they're different.
They do.
One is written by one and the other is the actual chronological events as they happen.
Yep.
And right now, Pete Carroll is trying to tell his story. Nah, Pete, we ain't gonna let you do that, bro. You missed your opportunity. You had your chance. You chose not to. Now just keep it moving. But we appreciate you bringing attention to this. So if you want to don't mention Cap. If you want to just talk about the plight of the black man, the killing of black men and women at the hands of police officers unarmed, have at it. But don't mention Cap because you blew that.
So maybe I'm being idealistic here, but I've told you before, and I'm going to say it again. I am hoping that George Floyd did not get murdered in vain. I'm hoping this is a turning point moment in the history of this country.
Yes.
And I'm also hoping that Colin Kaepernick did not sacrifice the rest of his NFL career in vain.
Right.
And it's doing my heart good to see a lot of Kaepernick jerseys at the protest. So it's come full circle to, oh, wait, he was really right. So we're seeing a groundswell that direction. Right. And to your point, Pete Carroll jumped on the groundswell.
Yes.
Okay.
We saw this is not anything new. Because think about what happened when Dr. King. Man, Dr. King never had a 90% approval rating when he was alive, Skip. He was one of the most despised men in America. And now everybody, they quote him, they put his clips up, and just like, ooh, man, Dr. King. Man, Dr. King like, man, I wish y'all to love me like this, because I'd probably still be alive if y'all love me like y'all love me right now.
Touche.
And then they skip, and when this was going on, what would Dr. King say? What would Dr. King do? I don't know, y'all killed him. So I don't know what he would do. I don't know what he would say. Had you left him alone, he'd have been around to tell you what he would do and what we could have done and what he would say. But we don't know. No mercy.
In an interview with Yahoo Finance, Drew Brees said he could, quote, never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America. Brees said he stands with his teammates for their fight for equality, but also that he stands with family members who have served in the military. Brees also gained harsh criticism from many athletes, including teammates Michael Thomas and Malcolm Jenkins. Brees did issue an apology this morning on Instagram. And Skip, I just want to start with you. Were you surprised by these comments made by Drew Brees?
Jenny and Shannon, I was not surprised. I believe that yesterday, Drew Brees showed you his true colors. Yet, as you know, Shannon Sharpe, when it comes to talking black and white, black versus white, there's always this slippery slope of gray area in between.
Okay.
very difficult, slippery slope. Drew Brees, for me, falls into the grayest of the gray area. Do I believe that at heart Drew Brees is a racist? No, I don't. I don't know that for a fact, but I don't. Okay. Do I think he has a racial blind spot? Yes, I do. And I've always thought that.
Right.
You have to look at where he came from and how he was raised in Austin, Texas, affluent side of town. Father, a prominent trial attorney. Mother, also an attorney. He loves to say that both his grandfathers, which I know just pushes your deepest, hottest button, both of my grandfathers fought in World War II, served in World War II. One fought at the Battle of Okinawa. Okay, we get that, Drew. But in the end, Drew Brees blindly, I underscore blindly, loves God and country. It's all about the flag. Drew Brees feels just as strongly about respecting the flag of the United States of America as the black community has always felt about the sometimes murderous disrespect shown them by law enforcement in the United States of America. Black people are a backbone of this country and always have been. And finally, for maybe the first time ever, it's just hard to quantify it because it's happening so quickly, but we see people of all colors coming out by the thousands for these protests that seem to be growing by the day, 10 days after the murder. Why? Because younger white America is saying, we just got woke. We're with you. We're here to do all we can for you. We're not sure what to do, except vote. You can vote, right? But Drew Brees is from the older school. And Drew Brees, staunch Republican and arch conservative, is cut from the same cloth many of the NFL owners have always been cut from. And it is blindly patriotic. He's not ignorant to what you're doing right now. He's not, or your plight.
Right.
He's not completely unaware, but he is insensitive because nothing, if I may use this word, trumps the flag of the United States of America.
Correct.
Right? It's all about that to a fault. So I loved the one line from the receiver who caught a record number of passes last year, an all-time record, Michael Thomas from Drew Brees. He summed it up for me yesterday with one line on Twitter and did not even have to use the name Drew Brees. He just simply tweeted, he don't know enough to know. Okay, he don't know enough to know. He doesn't. In the end, like it's just not in there because it's never quite been in there for him to have any sensitivity to this. So I'm not surprised at all that he stepped right into the breach, blindly right into the breach of a flashpoint moment, I think, for the United States of America. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like we hit a turning point, watershed, game changer, where everybody is suddenly, at least listening, is open-eyed and open-eared to, oh, yeah, this keeps happening to the black community. They are really suffering. And it was because of the most vile and evil video I believe I've ever seen in my life. I had to watch a black man get murdered in broad daylight, arrogantly, brazenly, by a police officer with his hands in his pocket, smugly with the knee on the neck, just the way Colin Kaepernick had knee on ground during the anthem, as you pointed out last week, knee on the neck. And it was the equivalent to me of a modern day lynching. That's how it came across to me. That was a concrete lynching of a black man. In broad daylight, right before your very eyes, knowing full well there are several people around just videotaping. Oh, you didn't care. No. Watch this. Watch what I'm about to pull off here. 8 minutes and 46 seconds, but the last 2 minutes and 53 seconds, the black man was dead. So he had to rub it in because he's deceased on the concrete. Well, that's it. And Drew Brees, without any sensitivity, just stepped right into the middle of that. And it was like, wait a second. I didn't, what did I do wrong? I'm getting this backlash. I don't really get it. I guess I better apologize. And he did. And it comes across, he wrote it well. We get that. But I don't think my partner, Shannon Sharpe, was convinced by the apology, but I will hand the ball to you.
No, I'm unconvinced. Yeah. Skip, did you know Tuesday, Drew Brees on his Instagram page had Blackout Tuesday?
He did.
So what was Blackout Tuesday?
And he quoted Nelson Mandela.
Yeah!
Okay.
Quote. They know all these quotes.
Mm-hmm.
But, Skip, does Drew realize the flag is supposed to be a representation of what America stands for? What it's supposed to be, what it should be. Drew, ask yourself this. Is America, for you, the same for a black man? Probably not. I wish Drew would study history like he studied that New Orleans playbook, because he knows it frontwards and backwards.
No, it doesn't.
But for him to say, my grandfather served in World War II, like black men did not serve in World War II, and did not get the freedoms upon returning that his grandfather got, although they made very similar sacrifices. Drew forgot that part, Skip. When people say disrespecting the flag, I thought burning. I thought stepping on it. I thought the desecration of the flag was disrespect. I didn't know kneeling was disrespectful. I didn't. But they made it that. They made it about the military. They made it about the flag. They made it about the vets. Because, Skip, if I can make it about everything else except the subject you want to talk about, I can shift the narrative enough, because there's enough people that don't want to talk about this. Yeah, he disrespecting the flag. Yeah, my grandfather fought. My great-grandfather fought in all these wars. Yeah, guess what? Every war from French and Indian War, Skip, because here's the thing about the military, what people don't know. Let me give Drew a little education. The reason why in a lot of the wars, they didn't want to arm blacks, because they said, well, hold on. What if the freedom that we're asking them to fight for against an enemy, they pick up those arms and fight for freedom against us? We're arming them to fight against us. Now, I want you to go fight for my freedom. I want you to go to fight for Master Tom's freedom. Now, when you win, you come back, and now you're going to be my slave again. Drew, you do realize they had the flag then. The flag has never represented truly what America was supposed to be, because men and women in America weren't always treated like they were supposed to be, especially black men and women. Drew, and this is the one thing I want to say, Skip. Drew, for the very first time in about 15 years, it's not about you and how you feel. We're asking you to put yourself in the position of a black man and think and feel how he feels.
Yep.
That's what this is about. That's what we're summing, because we've been banging our heads. We're asking our counterparts, just for 1 second, for one moment, put yourself in our position, and then. But see, he doesn't want to, because then if he were to do that, it's like, well, hold on. Y'all don't get treated like we do. Y'all don't have all the same rights and privileges and education and health care and employment like we do. The flag, how dare you disrespect the flag? I'm going to stand on the principle of the flag, although the flag, the representation of what America should be, was supposed to be, is not that. But I just want to stand on it, Skip, because, I don't even want to see what y'all talking about. It ain't that bad. I mean, you're in the NFL, you making money. And that's what they think. If a few of y'all doing good, why you care about everybody else? Because that's called empathy. And that sometimes that should be, and it starts, because there's a guy at the top that has no empathy, that refuses to show empathy, that refuses to say, I'm sorry, or I was wrong. And a lot of Drew Brees, Drew is the problem, Skip. It's people like Drew that refuses to see willful ignorance. He's a very intelligent man, Skip. Drew can tell you that playbook, give you a defense. Oh, yeah, they're going to do this. Oh, if they do that, we're going to do this. All that. But to say that because his grandfathers fought in World War II, hell, a lot of black fought in the Revolutionary War too. If you go look at Washington crossing the Delaware, they got blacks in the boat. They slaves now, Skip. Some of them, even because he asked the slaves and the free. And they promised them, now if we win, y'all can be free. And guess what happened, Skip, when they won? They wasn't free. Hold on, wait a minute. I thought you told me I was going to be free. If I help you win, if I fight for your freedom, because that's what they fight for, Skip. They wasn't fighting for their freedom. They was fighting for Master Tom's freedom. They helped Master Tom win, and then Master Tom put him right back into slavery. The flag was just flying too. Drew, I can't believe you. I cannot believe you Blackout Tuesday, we stand united. And Skip, there's a picture, I think it was 2017. He's kneeling. I'm kneeling with my brothers against police brutality. All the while seething. Man, I hate this. I can't believe this. I don't want to do this. But I got to do it because everybody else is doing it. See? Let somebody speak long enough and they'll tell you, expose
that is true.
Exactly who and what they are.
Yep. And as Malcolm Jenkins concluded in one of his videos last night, Drew, all this talk about quote unquote brotherhood is a bunch of BS.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So he's talking about brotherhood in the locker room with his black teammates.
Friend until I need you.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, nah, bro, you on your own.
So Drew spoke of, in his initial quotes about this, about how unifying it is for everybody to put their hand over their heart during the national anthem. Okay, what he failed to grasp is, no, that the most unifying moment I've experienced in my fairly lengthy lifetime has been the murder of George Floyd and the outpouring, because I'm seeing people of all colors come out to support the black community. Right. By the thousands.
Right.
I keep telling you, I watch all day. I watch the protests. Most of these I'm watching in Southern California. They're all over Los Angeles.
Yes.
They're in every neighborhood. There's a giant rally.
Yes.
A giant demonstration, peaceful demonstration, a march through Hollywood and downtown. And
they don't care nothing about your curfew.
No, they don't care. In fact, they're defying the curfew in a great way.
Yes.
They're going to sit down in the middle of the street and say, okay, arrest me.
Right.
Okay, we'll arrest you. If that's what you want, we'll process you. We'll quote unquote book you, and then we'll release you.
Give you $1,000 summons to appear and you're fine and go away.
If that's what you want to do, we're going to have to disperse you because there is a curfew.
Right.
Okay, so we see... I'm seeing, again, as a white guy, I keep looking up saying, I swear I'm seeing more white kids than black kids I am.
Yeah.
This is revolutionary.
Yeah, it is.
This is potentially a game changer where the youth, the white youth of America are having their eyes open in ways my generation did not have its eyes open. Mm-hmm. How will that benefit the black community going forward? I don't know, but I like the chances of it a lot better than I've ever liked the chances of any other moment in the history of this country for the future of your community.
Correct.
I like it better. I like your chance. I think your chances just improved.
I like it too. And President Obama spoke of this yesterday. Yep. He had a virtual town hall, and he was talking about this seems very different. This seems very different, that the people are more united. They're more galvanized, and they want to see change, and they realize they are the vehicle that can bring about change. And this is something, like I said, Skip, we talked about it on Monday. I thought it was I was like, yeah, it's because normally, you go back and look at the history of riots. This is this not riots, but protests. They're normally a couple of days, Skip. Normally 3 or 4 days, but nah. Here we are Thursday, and it started so we're like 10, 11 days out now.
Rodney King was 3 days, I believe.
Yes.
Until the military came in tanks, and finally that just shut it down, the riots.
Right. And so what we're seeing is that we're seeing something that we have not seen, I don't believe, in American history, Skip.
Not in American history.
And Drew talking about, Skip, you know what they still do during the national anthem? Sell concession. People be talking, be moving around, going to the bathroom. I better forget Drew. Drew, boy, you stepped in it on this one, Drew.
He stepped in it. Okay, so sum it up quickly. Going forward, how damaged is his relationship with his football team?
Really? Fractured. There's a big divide. And he's going to have to do a lot to get it back. But I'm telling you, they're not going to look at him the same. They'll never look at him the same. Because, Skip, you spoke your first heart. Why are you apologizing? That's how you sincerely felt. Drew Brees is too smart of an individual not to know. But his principle is that flag, and my grandfathers, and they were the only ones that were there fighting. Or white men was the only one there fighting for the military, because they throw that old flag to bet.
No mercy. Joining us now is rapper and activist Killer Mike, who told us in the commercial break we should call him Michael on TV because his mom would appreciate it. And Michael, we are so happy to have you. And may I just say that your words to Atlanta last week were moving and real and honest, and people were listening, and we just appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay, Michael.
I'm honored to be here.
Since Michael says mama said call you by your government name, I'm going to call you by your government name, Michael. But you know how we do it when you and I talk personally.
It's killer and shite.
Mike, you got the pulse of Atlanta. You know everything that's going on in Atlanta, good, bad, and indifferent. Tell me what the pulse is in Atlanta right now dealing with these protests and the killing of George Floyd.
First, I want to give some shots out to some organizations that are doing great work. One of them is Paul Kids. They're making sure kids stay fed and families have stuff like food, clothing, and shelter. Next Level Boys Academy, led by Gary Davis, that's making sure young black men avoid jail time, become better communicators with their families. And the New Georgia Project, who's making sure that the people that are out there protesting to the people who are in the Vidalia onion fields are making sure they're getting registered to vote. So after the protest, after the rioting, well-deserved too, after that these kids go on to become organizers and these young people galvanize at the elections and past the election. So that's what's going on. I want to just say from a street perspective, man, I've been seeing everybody from the brothers that hang into the Blue Flame to the people who watch the Georgia Gang on Sunday's political shows, galvanizing together, making sure that people have their rights and are protected from harms and injustice.
When I talked to you, I called you the other day when the riots and the protest, rebellion, whatever you want to call them, Mike, broke out. I called you and asked you how you're doing. Tell the people at home what you told me when I asked you how were you.
I was sick. I was beat up. I was defeated. I was scared for y'all. I rioted in 92, so I understand and I hold no criticism of. I just know that if you're from Georgia, like Shannon and I, you know that Atlanta, places like Atlanta and Savannah and even Macon can be places where blacks can actually have opportunity. And to see that the possibility that that might disappear, whereas we on the ground, people like me, Tip, or brothers, even like if you turn to younger brothers like Lil Baby and Thug them and investing in their communities, if we don't have the opportunity to do that and we lose Atlanta, I fear Black America has lost like one of its last strongholds. So I was defeated, man, but I got a lot of good encouragement from you and others, and I appreciate it. I didn't want to get on the podium and talk, had nothing in my positive in my mind to say. So like the old people say, I just spoke my heart, and I'm glad it resonated with people, because I think we have an opportunity in Atlanta and in Georgia to redefine race relations, to redefine what's economically fair and right, and to redefine political affiliations and what they mean and how they can be helpful to people. And we have an opportunity to unite as a worker class and make sure that our kids can grow into a middle class and also grow wealth for our families and for our community. And I think if we lose sight of that and we lose that opportunity, we've lost it all.
So, Michael, I read that your father was a policeman. Did that have any impact on you at all as a kid?
Yeah. When I was in elementary school, your dad's a policeman, your dad's your hero. I have a very brave cousin who was a high school quarterback who probably would have went on to play D1. He's tore his shoulder up, trained himself with a hurt shoulder to become a kicker, went to West Georgia, came out, and is on the SWAT team in Atlanta now. I have another cousin that's a commander down in East Point. So I'm from a historical standpoint. Let me qualify. There once was a time where Black people were not policed by Black people in Atlanta. They were hurt. They were murdered. They were the police stood aside as riots happened. We got an original 8 policemen about 67 years ago. Those 8 policemen were not allowed to be armed. They were forced to dress in the YMCA because people did not want to dress with Black people. So we suffered a lot to have some ownership of our community. We suffered a lot to be policed by people who look like us. You know, we suffered. So I respect respectful officers like Detective Williams, the late great. I respect respectful officers like one of the highest ranking officers. I believe he was a Major Ball, who lived in my community. I respect it because I understood how hard it is to be a policeman and represent government and still maintain your integrity as a Black man. So I honored that. You know, so my dad and my cousins, I honored that. I could never do the job, but I'm not gonna talk down on good men. But I am gonna single out bad behavior. Rotten apples ruin whole barrels, and it is time to cut out the cancer that is Jeff Sessions called white Anglo-Saxon Protestant history. If that is the way policing is thought of in this country, then I remind everybody that policing began with slave catching.
So the George Floyd protests, are you surprised that the volume and what we're seeing? Because I remember in 92, I was in Savannah at the time, but I remember it didn't last as long as what we're seeing right now, Mike. This has gone on for 10, 11 days, And although it's more peaceful, the sides have grown and the volatility at night has simmered down.
I heard a wise man say, his name was Skip Bayless. And Skip, when talking about the kneeling of Colin Kaepernick, said that white players were missing an opportunity to stand in solidarity with Colin and break the leverage that the NFL has over all players. But instead of seeing this as a solidarity issue and a players issue, they were viewing it as a nationalistic issue, as a racial issue, and that solidarity never happened. So players in the NFL are never going to be treated as they deserve because that slither of racial or political division kept them apart. I literally remember being heartbroken when that one player decided to walk through the tunnel in Pittsburgh when the team had decided to stay back. I thought it was a class act by the team, led by the coaching organization. So Skip said something genius. People magnify that out of football into America. The reason that we have a ruling class in this country is because poor people do not understand that past color and racial divisions, we are all exactly the same, but that's changing because those kids that are out there in the streets of different colors and ethnicities and different religions understands that we serve the same masters. The same exact corporations oppress our communities. The same exact corporations are stealing education from our children. The same exact rulers of us are making deals in closed rooms that we deserve to be in and have say in. Every police department should have an empowered citizens review board. Every city should make sure that 30% of their business class has to be small or medium-sized business and cannot just be national and corporate chains. There are things that we can do to ensure that America remains a place of opportunity. And those kids in the streets that are doing things that they're being accused of, that they're not actually doing in some cases, those kids are the future. They understand that it's us. They understand that the proletariat must unite. And they understand that moving forward as a united tribe, regardless of what we look like, is the best solution for this country to unify.
So your response to what Drew Brees said yesterday?
My response I gave on Jalen's show, on another show. And Drew is tied to the whipping post and deservedly so at this point. My response yesterday was he's an incredibly intelligent quarterback who said something incredibly stupid. But I need Americans to know that this stupidity is taught to you all. And I'm talking to white Anglo-Saxon Protestant Americans now. You've been lied to. You've never read the Cornerstone speech. You've only heard about the war of northern aggression. Read what the vice president of the Confederacy said about the founding of the Confederate nation. He literally said that it is founded under the principle that whites are superior and therefore should dominate and enslave black people. That's in that speech. But you don't know that. So how can you have empathy when you haven't been educated? Drew Brees has no idea that the Jane Elliott blue-eye, brown-eye experiment exists. I would recommend to Drew medicine right now, because I already pulled out the belt and give you spanking, and that's when you sit down and you get told why you were spanked. I want you to go to YouTube, Drew. I want you to turn your phone off for an hour, and I want you to watch the blue and brown eye experiment by Jane Elliott. There's no way you're going to walk away from that feeling the same. I want to tell white Americans that you're being given propaganda every day because you see kneeling as disrespectful of a flag in a lot of cases, but you don't see a Budweiser commercial with flags on the booty shorts. You don't see that as disrespectful or a flag bikini. But all those things are said not to be done. We're told not to do those things. When we make a flag bucket cap, we're not supposed to do that, yet we do it. So I'd just like to encourage us to back off nationalism and remember that the human beings that are across from us are part of this tapestry that make America. And if we put a flag over human life, or if we put a flag over the way we protest human life, then we are truly disconnected from humanity, and we're going down a nationalistic road, much like fascism of Nazi Germany of old. People cared more about nationalism than they did the human beings that they were marching into death camps. We cannot care more about a flag than we care about seeing a 225-pound man place his total body weight on the neck of another man as he screams for God, his mother, and gasps for air and asphyxiates like some type of painful porn in front of us. A flag's not worth that. Any flag. If a flag does not truly represent the people, giving us all our constitutional rights, then the flag is not worth it.
And that was my point earlier when Skip and I was talking. I said the flag is supposed to be a representation of the values of a country, in that everybody falls up under that flag. Everybody gets treated the same. Everybody has the same opportunity. Well, if that's
Absolutely.
not the case, why do you get upset when the people that feel that they're being oppressed, that they feel they're being unheard and do not have those rights and liberties? Why do you get upset with them if they don't get all goo-goo and gaga over the flag like you, who have been represented by that flag?
Black Americans love this country. Black Americans have worked their butt off. I don't care if the sacrifices of soldiers in the war. I don't care if the sacrifices of Tuskegee Airmen or the men who suffered from the Tuskegee experiment. One group of men flew planes on the behalf of this country and made sure this country stayed free. The other group of men suffered in the indignity of having to live with a sexually transmitted disease until they died so a government can study it. So we have to understand the sacrifices that have been made before we blindly make these sweeping statements. I just want all Americans, and especially Drew, and especially white Anglo-Saxon Protestant Americans, to watch the Blue and Brown Eye Experiment by Jane Elliott. Mm-hmm. Allow yourself to learn. Allow yourself to touch and have empathy so you can learn that you've been made to be apathetic. You don't know no better, so it's time you know better now. Mm-hmm. The same way you study that playbook, I want you to go to YouTube, study that experiment, so you can understand truly what your teammates and the people who helped make you a world champion go through away from the field and out of that stadium.
So where do we, Mike, from moving forward, where do we go next?
Well, I want to say that if you study the 6 steps of, if you study the 6 steps of kidney and nonviolence, the final one is resolution. So in matters of Drew Brees, in matters of, did you guys hear me? We still here?
Yeah, we got
yeah.
Yeah, in matters of Drew Brees, I say he should seek to truly understand, he should seek to learn, and he should seek to reconcile. In matters of this nation, there is a reconciliation that is due to the Black community. It begins with conversations about things like H.R. 40 and pushing through a comprehensive study that will give us the reparations that we deserve. It begins with how does the education system change to tell the truth to all 5-year-olds so that we don't have 15-year-olds that are ignorant and that are polarizing in the high school cafeterias and gyms. It begins by saying financially, what are we going to do to make sure that this community starts to enjoy some of the benefits of having donated so much to this country in blood, sweat, and tears. And if we're not starting there, and if we're not talking about there, and if we don't have an agenda from our community that's truly respected and valued by the political parties we're voting for, then we're still where we were 100 years ago, and shamefully so.
And Michael, quickly back to your last point, you've many times brought up Jane Elliott, and for those who don't know, she was a white teacher in Iowa who shortly after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King conducted a little classroom experiment, the blue-eyed, brown-eyed experiment, where she separated her white students to try to make the brown eyes feel like they were the minority. This is what it feels like to walk in the shoes of a black.
Well, the blue eyes felt like they were the minority. The brown eyes.
I'm sorry, I got it backwards. That's right. Yeah, and so why did it move you so much the first time you saw it?
Because as Black people, we get tired of being your teachers. As Black people, we get tired of serving you guys. You know, just to be frank and honest, man, it's not our responsibility to get rid of racism. Like James Baldwin said, we didn't invent the word nigger. We didn't create these conditions. White society did that. And a white teacher should be your teacher. Now, we are definitely your co-conspirators, your allies, friends and brothers, depending on who you talk about. LP, my rap partner, that's my brother. Some people politically just my ally. Some people who got a common goal are my co-conspirators. But white people need to be teaching white people. Because sometimes you only believe it when it's coming from somebody that looked like you. You know, Black people are tired of the burden of having to be the caretakers of this country, holding your hand when you're young, putting our arm around you. You know, if we play sports and get paid a little money, or rap and sing and dance, get paid a little money, somehow we're not supposed to speak to you. Like, what kind of foolishness is that? And then the same people will turn around and tell you the greatest president ever was a B-level actor named Ronald Reagan. We got a casino owner as the president of the United States right now. So you can't tell Black people to keep taking care of me, understand me, give us time to progress. You need to be taught. You need to be taught by a teacher. This woman is an educator. She said we could eradicate racism in this country in 20 years if we really wanted to. If you look at it, that's pre-K through 12th grade is about 19 years. If you do your nursery and then mix it with your 12 years high school, you're going to go into roughly education 12, 13 years, maybe on up to 19 if you do college. If you educate all along the way, you can eradicate racism. But somebody still profits from racism. Police departments get paid more money. when crime is up. So my brothers who run nonprofits in LA say when we really reduce crime, they take our funding. And then crime pop back up, and then we get a little more funding. And the police get more funding too. So it's time to stop the Ponzi scheme. It's time to stop building private prisons. It's time that we have special prosecutors that come to places like Brunswick, Georgia, where the prosecutors and whoever the guy who thought he was a policeman are so connected that he won't get prosecuted after hunting a black man like an animal with 2 more white men. It's time that we started appointing special prosecutors to come in from out of the district and prosecute. Black people just tired. We tired. How much do we have to do for you before you do something for yourself? Before you say, I'm going to self-educate myself. I'm going to listen to Jane Elliott. I'm going to listen to Tim Wine. I'm going to listen to old speeches by Eugene Debs. I'm going to read Ida B. Well. I'm going to start to learn from Lucy Parsons. The last 2 people were black because they black women, and I believe that they should hold more leadership positions too.
But Killer Mike, you know America was founded on having somebody to look down on. That's what slavery provided. That's what we have. We got to have somebody. LBJ said, if you can convince the Lois White that he's as good as the best black, you can rob him. He said, hell, if you give him somebody to look down on, he'll empty his pockets for you. That's what was happening. We've been provided, they've been provided someone to look down on. Who do they look down on? Us and minorities. So you got to have somebody to look down on. If you're in racism, who are you going to look down on, Killer Mike?
Now, I remember having a conversation with Senator Bernie Sanders and him saying, Michael, you know, at the time we were marching for workers' rights, or they were marching for workers' rights in Mississippi, and vehemently against it were poor white men who would have benefited from those rights and would have benefited from unions. And at the time that they were vehemently protesting against the black men whose rights would have gotten everyone right? At the time, they were the lowest paid white workers in the nation. And back to what Skip said, back to what that wise man said, if you would have stood in solidarity together, it would have been better for everyone. But because you chose not to, you'll never break the stronghold of the NFL. And this country's like this. If we stand in solidarity together, that fair is fair. I may not agree with what you're saying or how you say it, but I respect and I support your right to say it based on the First Amendment. I may not like how you feel about firearms, but I respect and support your right to own them according to the Second. I may want to see slavery gone for real. And if I really want that, I'm going to work to get the 13th Amendment changed. But what I have realized about this country is we talk the talk, but when it's time to walk the walk, everybody goes to sit back down. But it's time that we walk the walk all the way through now. It's time that we make sure that everyone can enjoy the constitutional rights that are promised so we can truly be the greatest nation on earth. Otherwise, we still aspirational. You love LeBron. I love Kobe. Ain't nobody Jordan, though.
So, Michael, go deeper for us about the message behind the words on your shirt right now.
Kill your masters. My master right now is sugar, so I'm working out and trying my best to beat it. All right. So you know, as our country tries to grow into the GOAT like Michael Jordan, I'm trying to grow into a slimmer Mike. But kill your masters is this. Kill your masters is this. It's the principle of that we share the same master class. At the time that slavery existed, there was a planter class in the South. And the planter class helped promote that LBJ quote. They were 100 years before, but they helped promote the fact that if I can get the poorest white man to be a taskmaster, cracking a whip over a black man, I'll keep control over these blacks and poor whites. And what we have to understand is that we have the exact same masters. The same people that don't want to give you your rights for whatever your particular difference is have denied my rights for 400 years. The same people that would like to marginalize your neighborhood based on the fact they like to develop it 20 years later have done that to my neighborhood. If we do not share as allies a common ground to fight our masters united, we will continue to be dominated by them. And that's what people need to understand. And how arrogant. If any white person on the other side of this television thinks that this shirt is about them, please know that in America, man, money makes you a master. And I'm very comfortable as a rapper singing and dancing. You, as a working class white person, have a master. So don't be arrogant enough to think this shirt is about white people. I've never had a white master. I've grown up in a black city. All my heroes and villains have been black people. But if I had a politician that was acting as a master and doing wrong, then I voted for the other politician. If I had a job that broke up my union, then I fought like hell to get a union. no matter what my union members look like. That's killing your master. When dominant corporate stores are coming in, knocking out your local coffee shops, your local mom and pop shops, when you choose to support them, that's killing your master. As black people, if you shift one of your accounts to a black bank like Citizens Trust Bank in Atlanta or One United, you are killing your financial masters. We did a black bank thing. Me, T.I., Usher, a lot of brothers in Atlanta, Young Thug came out, rah-rah. We did a black banking challenge. That black banking challenge made Wells Fargo come out and allocate $60 million to black mortgages. Not minority mortgages, not people of color mortgages, black mortgages. That is killing your master.
Bro, Mike, we appreciate you coming on and dropping that knowledge on us, bro. We really appreciate it. Come back soon.
Love you, man.
Love and respect. Have a good morning.
But you dead wrong. You know good well, Brian the GOAT. Brian the GOAT.
Kobayashi.
Michael, thank you so much for your words. I can't talk for Shannon getting that last thing in there. And the list of everything you suggested we watch and read and listen to and learn, I'm going to make sure we get that list out there. So thank you for being a positive voice in this
movement.
Thank you,
Skip. I got to say thank you for that statement during those times, Skip. You'll never know what that meant.
God bless you, man. Thank you.
We appreciate it, Michael.
Love and respect. Y'all have a good morning.
I'll holler at you, killer.
No mercy.
Utah NBA champ and finals MVP said that Maxwell was crowned LeBron as the greatest of all time over Michael Jordan. Yeah, he crowned him, guys. Maxwell said, quote, he's the GOAT because not only on the basketball side, but social issues as well. He's been involved in every social issue that we look at. Shannon, does he have a point here?
Well, I think LeBron is the GOAT because of what he's done on the basketball court. Skip, I've tried to do a great job. I've tried to always do a job of separating what you do in your particular arena, be it the basketball court, the football field, or the baseball diamond, and then what you do outside of that. When people look at Ali, I look at what he was in the ring, and then I look at what he did outside of the ring. And I try to do a great job of separating those two, and I've done that with LeBron. And we look at some of these great athletes, Skip. The 60s is a little different, Skip, because there was no money in endorsements like it is now. No. And you see guys like Ali, and you see guys like Jim Brown. Now, Ali was fighting for his career. Bill Russell and some of these other guys, the baseball, Jackie Robinson, but that was different. Now when you got $80, $90 million at stake, Skip, and what LeBron has done is LeBron has taken a stance that guys in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s before LeBron got in the league would never, ever even touch. Mm-hmm. Let alone talk about, I'm going to go to a Democratic National Convention and stand on stage with the nominee, Skip. That was unheard of. Yeah. But what LeBron has done, LeBron is so comfortable in who he is, and he realized, yes, I've been very successful. I'm blessed beyond blessed. But there are plights that are still being fought by men and women of my color, of my race, that's not right. And it's just not good enough to be morally conscious. I have to be socially conscious also. And he's done a great job of that. I believe LeBron James is the GOAT because of what he's done. But when it comes to off the court, to try to compare him to Michael Jordan, it's almost like saying LeBron James is the best player and Michael is the 13th best player in the NBA. And
I don't know if you 13th?
Yeah.
How about way below that?
It's not even comparable. Right. Especially when they play. Now, Michael has gotten better since he's been away from the game, donating to causes. Mm-hmm. He issued a statement. He did. A couple of days ago about the racism. Mm-hmm. And the guy that was perpetuating racism in 1988 was in his state with Jesse Helms. Does he not know who Jesse Helms, Strom Thurmond in South Carolina, Herman Eugene Talmadge in Georgia? Skip, I'm from that area, so I know these guys very well. So
Republicans buy sneakers too. You know the statement.
Skip, I'm glad. But at the time that he's doing it, Michael Jordan did not want to mess with that brand, didn't want to mess with Jumpman, and so he was mum on issues. LeBron James says, yes, but I got to speak up. I cannot allow these things that I see that are wrong going on in my country and not say anything about it. I will not shut up and dribble. I am more than an athlete. So for me, Skip, I believe LeBron is the GOAT but there is no comparison with social issues off the court between LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Mm.
So every time we have the basketball debate, you know how I feel. I feel like it's blasphemous even to start this debate because I feel like lightning is going to strike us through the roof of this studio here on the Fox lot.
Right.
But every time you take it off the court, you got me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's it.
I got
Game
nothing.
over, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't ever even try to defend Michael off the court, except to tell you, I was around him in Chicago, and I think he just had no interest in any of that.
Right.
And I also think he thought, I just don't know enough to know because I don't care enough to know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's who he was. I think he has grown. I think he has awakened, you might say, a little bit lately. I think The Last Dance, he took some heat for a lot of things that he didn't say, and I think it stung him, so he felt compelled to issue a statement. That was great. That was new and different. That was a man sort of maturing before your very eyes.
A lot better than that Bull Jive Tiger released.
Okay. Really? Okay. You think that?
Man, Tiger need to sit down.
Okay.
Education.
Okay. Well, okay. There's another one. So the point is, I have always applauded all that LeBron has done off the court, but he has a political heart. He has an activist heart. So do you. You were born with a political heart. I always tell you, I don't follow it as closely as you do. You are into it.
I am.
You are a qualified spokesman. You are a commentator who knows enough to know everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes you go into areas where I'm like, I'm out. I don't know. I don't follow it. I think I was taught growing up, you can't change politics. Like these people all lie and cheat and steal from you, basically. And I don't know how to change it except to vote, right?
Right.
Okay. So LeBron is saying, I have the heart for this. He also is in a different place and time where via social media, he does get validated by his followers. And he has a whole lot of followers, both IG, Twitter, everything, Facebook, anything else, where he knows he is preaching to a pretty large choir now, a growing choir, both black and white, and of all colors, obviously. And yet, if you're talking about the GOAT athlete activist, well, I can't place LeBron above Muhammad Ali because LeBron didn't face or hasn't had to face the hardships. I mean, in the 60s, when Ali was a conscientious objector, racism was out of the closet. It was in your face.
That was a different era.
It was uncamouflaged. It was so different then. And this man had the guts to say, I got no beef with them Viet Cong, and I don't want to fight over there. Well, you have to. You're going to get charged, and he got charged, and he got tried, and he got convicted. He didn't go to jail. Appeals lasted for 3 years. He lost 3 precious, almost 4 years of his prime. From 25 to almost 29, he gave it up because he didn't want to fight. Well, that's different than today.
Yeah, oh, very.
And he had the guts, and he was a pariah, man. He was not well liked, and he came full circle to beloved.
It even skipped a lot of them. He wasn't well liked in his own community because there were a lot of blacks that had to go. They had to go, and they had to go fight Vietnam.
And they had gone before him. To your earlier points, many of the black men had fought already. And they're saying, we love our flag. We love our country because they were part and parcel of keeping the country free. Not sure we were fighting for our freedom in Vietnam, but that's a whole nother issue, right? Okay, so then we look at Jackie Robinson. Obviously, he had to break the color barrier and endure racism incomprehensible to me and maybe even to you, that kind of racism. And then we look at Bill Russell. He became the first black superstar in the NBA in Boston. It's got a racist, at least an edge to it, right? A part of Boston is very racist, and it was out of the closet in those days. Well, what Bill Russell experienced, LeBron has no idea. Even in your era, you have you can't relate to that.
That's different, right? To hear my grandparents and like I said, Skip, I was alive. My grandmother, Grandma Lou, was born in 1902. She lived until she was 1990. And when I was a kid, wasn't going to school, my grandparents would drop me off over there, and I stayed with her. And so I know things. Skip, do you know the term a barrel of laughs? You know where that came from?
No.
In the South, black people couldn't laugh out loud in public. You had to stick your head in a barrel, and you had to laugh. Hence the term a barrel of laughs. So when you see, but that flag was flying, Skip, so you see things you hear things like that. The 60s was a different era for an athlete, Skip. Muhammad Ali was fighting. LeBron is fighting for the people. Although Ali was fighting for people, he was also fighting for his own career. He's like, them Vietcoms don't call me the N-word. They don't turn their dogs on me. They don't spray me down with water hoses. They don't go upside my head. Why am I going over there to kill them? They've done nothing to me. I should be fighting you. You're the one that's doing this to me right here in America. You said that I'm an American citizen. I should be free and opportunities. You're doing this, but you want to send me 2,000, 3,000 miles away to go kill somebody that's done nothing to me? No, I will not go.
Okay. And if we're talking about the GOAT of athletic activism, don't we have to put Colin Kaepernick in there?
Yeah.
Right? Because he sacrificed his whole career. And Kareem, very outspoken. Again, but Colin risked everything as far as his career went, not his life, but he risked his career and he lost it.
Yep.
Okay? Well, that qualifies it. That's goatish to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So, again, I love everything LeBron has done, but he hasn't faced the roadblocks that some of these other men have.
Right.
But he is fearless.
Right.
He is courageous in instant. Like, whenever Drew Brees puts his foot in his mouth, I know that within an hour, I'm going to get a reaction from LeBron James.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. And normally, Skip, superstar athletes in one sport would never criticize a superstar athlete in another sport.
Yep.
Or let alone his own sport. But that's not how LeBron's operate. If he feels you're out of line, that you've said something that does not align with the way it should be, he has no problem. And he was surprised. He was surprised that Drew Brees would understand. You think, Skip, but there goes that notion, Skip. Oh, he played with blacks. He likes blacks. You never... Do we really ever know, Skip, what's in a person's heart and mind? And I think Drew Brees just...
The deeds will tell you a lot.
Yes.
And occasionally what comes out of their mouth will tell you something.
Skip, what was so about Drew, Skip, not to get too far off topic, is that Drew has been so good in the community in New Orleans. And you know New Orleans is heavily populated with African Americans. So he's been so good. I think that's why it caught people so far off guard, is because Drew has been so good in New Orleans, especially after Katrina.
He was.
And then you have this, and even if it's apology, Skip, he didn't mention anything about the kneeling and what it represented. Still the flag. So that's where he stands. That's where he is. But Skip, it's like you said, you look at Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali, Jackie Robinson, Jim Brown, the 67 Summit in 1967 in Cleveland, when a 19-year-old Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, if I'm not mistaken, Skip, he was the only amateur there. Willie Davis, the Packer legend. There were so many. I think Bobby Mitchell was there also. There were so many guys, Skip. And like I said, the 60s, that was a different ball game, Skip. That was different. I mean, there have been other harsh decades, but for an athlete, because most of the athletes, they couldn't stay with their white teammates. They stayed in different areas.
Yep.
But that's not to poo-poo what LeBron has done. He's put his name, he's put his money where his mouth is on a lot of issues.
He has.
And he's made it cool because now, Skip, you see even more athletes. And Steph Curry was marching in the protest. Klay Thompson. You've seen other athletes step to the forefront.
Yep.
And I think that's given a lot of guys like, hold on. And these corporations realize, hold on, we better not try to suppress these guys because you know, as Michael Jordan says, Republican buy sneakers, black people buy stuff too in America. They got spending capital also.
Yeah. But I must add, Michael Jordan is
Brian the GOAT. Brian the GOAT. You heard him? Brian the GOAT. Everybody knows.
Guys, I mean, every single day, just a little bit in there.
No mercy.
Drew Brees has received widespread criticism after saying yesterday that he would never agree with any disrespecting of the flag of the United States of America. Shannon, will this damage his legacy, in your opinion?
Skip, I believe his legacy on the field is going to be what it is. There's a great chance he's going to retire from the NFL as the all-time leader in passing touchdown, passing yards, highest completion percentage in NFL history. That's on his resume. But I believe his teammates and his peers will look at him from this day on in a different light than they had previously had he not uttered what he uttered yesterday. I do believe that, Skip. It's going to be hard. He's going to be an all-time great, a Pantheon quarterback. But his teammates and others that played when he played, man, you remember when Drew said this? So this is going to be on his resume, Skip. There's no way around it. Like I said, not to the extent that when you talk about Lou Gehrig, you have to talk about he was just an evil nasty, racist, bigoted person. There's no way around that, Skip.
You mean Ty Cobb?
Ty Cobb, excuse me. Ty Cobb, excuse me. I'm sorry. Ty Cobb. Highest lifetime batting average in Major League history, Skip. I think he won, 10, 11 batting titles?
Yeah.
He was all-time great. But, Skip, he was just nasty. He was nasty.
He was.
He attacked the man that was heckling him and beat him within an inch of his life. That's on his resume. He did what he did on the field, but that's also a part of his resume.
Yep.
And sometimes, Skip, things that we say also get attached to us on our resume. And I believe this is one of the things that will be attached to Drew Brees on his resume. What he said, how he handled this situation.
Whew. So to me, Drew Brees' legacy now hinges upon whether or not he and his teammates can successfully work through this next season. Let's just do the hypothetical, the best case scenario. They go win the Super Bowl next year. Would that wipe some of this away? Maybe some of it if they all sort of came arm in arm through all this, like, okay, we understand each other a little better.
Right.
You've already told me, and it surprised me, you don't think they can quickly work through this.
No, they're not quickly.
You said it's fractured.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
Right?
Absolutely, yes. And if they win the Super Bowl, guess what, Skip? We won the Super Bowl with a guy that thinks the flag is more important than black lives.
All right, and that's not going away.
No.
I'm just saying it would soften it a little bit in the eyes of the world of, okay, they did accept Drew back. It took a while,
right,
but they came back around. It reminds me of that spitting incident during your Super Bowl year. Bill Romanowski on Monday Night Football spat J.J. Stokes for all the world to see. You had as they say, I hate this cliche, but it's like a come to Jesus kind of meeting.
That's kind of what it was.
And it was, right?
Yep.
And you led the talk in the locker room.
I did.
And you had to work through Bill Romanowski, a white player, spitting on a rival black player.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it hurt. It stung you to your core.
It did.
And your team's core.
Yes.
And you had to work everybody through it. And somehow, I think Johnny always stood up and spoke.
He did.
Right?
He did.
And somehow you worked around it. The difference is Bill Romanowski was not your quarterback.
Right.
He was a linebacker on your defense.
Right.
He was not just another player, very good player, obviously a very good player. But you did survive it, and then I'm not sure you thrived because of it, but it became a rallying point for your team.
Yeah, Skip, I think the thing is it's not to minimize it. And even after the meeting, Romo and I, Bill Romanowski, Romo, call him Romo, he and I had a 30-minute sit down and we just talked because I still needed to get some clarification. We couldn't sit there and do this all day. We had to get the meetings. But I wanted to talk to Romo personally. And I did that. I think the thing is, Skip, is that Romo's case, and I don't make, and this is what he said. He's like, my emotions got the best of me. Drew Brees is sitting down in a control setting.
I got you. Yep.
And he uttered that, Skip. Even after Skip, even though you told me, said, well, Shannon, I'm coming to do this, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, no, that's not what you did, Skip. Nope. Even though Colin told him why he was doing it, Drew Brees still made it about that in order to not talk about the issue at hand. And I think that's what hurt the player. Skip, when your teammates, and like I said, and that's what happened. Look, I knew he was going to get killed from the public. The question was, how strong would his teammates come out against it?
Strong.
Stronger than
Very
strong.
Stronger than even I thought.
Yes. Right. And that was it. And Malcolm Jenkins said, I used to view you as a friend. Skip, used to, ED, past tense. Mike Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Cam Jordan says he's disappointed, but he's going to hold out his final analysis until he actually talked to Drew. Skip, look, like I said, I've been in locker rooms a long time, and I've been the leading voice in a lot of locker rooms. Boy, they got some work to do for this one.
They got a lot of work to do to this one. It's just different because he's the face of the franchise, pantheon quarterback, leader of your quote unquote leader of your football team, and he said that. Yeah, he stepped into that at a turning point moment in the history of this country, potentially. Right. It's hard to walk that back, and he tried with his apology, right? Yeah, and it didn't do too much for me, Skip. Okay. Because the thing is, Skip, he's equating
the flag is more important than the death of a black man.
Mm-hmm. That's what he's saying.
That's basically what he's saying.
In the big picture, that's what he's saying. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Drew, but Skip, what I can't understand with as heightened as everybody, and everybody's saying the right thing, Skip, why would you come out at that moment and say that? And well, Skip, when you see all these people marching, ain't nobody mentioned nothing about the flag. Ain't nothing about it mentioned about the vets, about the military, about nothing. Why at that moment? That's what I can't understand, Skip. Why at that moment would he take that leap back into that and make it about that?
True colors revealed.
I was like...
He spoke his heart.
Yes.
Okay? I think a lot of people think that same way, still in this country.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people said, way to go, Drew, right?
Yeah.
Okay? But there are crucial people in his locker room who were hurt by this to the point of being alienated from ever being able to sort of trust Drew.
Yeah. Because they're looking at it like, damn, bruh. You keep talking about we bruh and we family, but we might be family in here, but outside there, are we really family? So my brother is not your brother. That has nothing to do with it. And we normally stand for all causes, Skip. If you hurting, I'm hurting. If one of my teammates were hurt, regardless of the color, I was hurt, bro. What can I do? And for him to be turned that blind of an eye and to be that naive and that insensitive to say, but me, my thing is the flag, hand over heart. That's more important to me than the killing of unarmed black men and women in America by police. Really, Drew? Is that how you really feel? That's what the guys are asking at this very moment. Drew, that's how you really feel, bro? So what was Blackout Tuesday about? Was that just speech? That was just talk, huh? You don't really believe that, but that was the cool thing to do because everybody, IG page was dark. I mean, some of these big corporations, some of the very big corporations that did not support Cap at the time, got a lot of statements. I'm like, man, I ain't know y'all could write so good.
Yep.
Man, Drew, boy, you stepped in it with this one, Drew. Whew. You really, really did, Drew. You stepped in it. Good luck.
All right, we're going to leave Drew Brees for now.
No mercy.
Jaguars owner Shad Khan spoke out against racism, saying that he has battled against it his whole life. Since coming from Pakistan to the U.S. in 1967, Khan said that he too has been a frequent target of prejudice, discrimination, and hatred. He also said change for all people of color in the U.S. is long overdue. Shannon, were you okay with what he said here?
I was, Skip, because what he also said is that he says he doesn't know what it's like to be a young African American. And so I can understand because we know that some of the prejudices that comes along with being a Muslim from another country, even being a Muslim American. So I love the fact that, he's like, yeah, I understand. I've dealt with it. And very few people, Skip, unless you've actually dealt with it, know what it's like. So we're talking about a man that knows what it's like to be in America and to be on the other end of the racism. So, I don't have a problem with it. But I like the fact that he said, you know what? I don't know what it's like to be a young black man, but I have experienced racism.
I'm surprised you don't have a little problem because it's not the right time to be comparing, comparing discrimination after the murder of George Floyd and yet another murder of an unarmed black man or woman by a white policeman. It's like wrong place, wrong time. I get where he's going. He's trying to say, I can relate on some level, and he can, but not on that level.
No.
And in the end, I don't think it plays great. You should just leave it for now. Leave it alone. It's like we talked about Drew Brees. There are certain times and places you just can't go in there. So not that this was nearly as egregious, but I thought maybe you'd find it slightly offensive.
I did in the beginning, Skip, and then I read where he hedged it by saying he doesn't know what it means to be American. Because we get that a lot. We start talking about our plight, and then everybody else start plight. Well, I was discriminated against, and I was that. But I'm going to give him some leeway on this one.
All right, that is going to do it for Undisputed today. Thank you all so much for joining us. Guys, it's so good to be back in studio with you. We're back same time tomorrow, 9:30.